Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for tonight's edition of Wave Extra on a Wednesday, July 30th. Jose Sosadia in the Wave Now studio, joined by Wave News reporter Logan Perrone. Logan, of course, and the rest of the Wave News team diving into the stories that connect to you, that matter to you, of course, have impacts right here in our own backyard. But sometimes they branch out into wider topics of conversation, national issues, which we always dive into. And Logan's been spending the day sort of getting different perspectives. And Logan, as you kind of walk us through what you've been finding out with the story, the reporting you've been doing, I'm just going to read a little bit off the headline because we found this out in the week about a mother from right here in Louisville. So it's a local family, and they're filing a lawsuit against a dealer, an arms dealer, that sold a, quote, ghost gun kit, which then resulted in her son possessing that firearm and unfortunately dying by suicide, Logan. So that's sort of the genesis of where this all started. Just grief, of course, on their part, but now they're making the case, taking it to court. So walk us through some of the background here in this.
So this was in 2023. It was an 18-year-old. He had graduated from Seneca High School. What essentially happened is he was sold a ghost gun. It's the boy in black there, the one in the middle in this photo. His name is Henry Willis. He was 18. Again, he purchased a ghost gun online. So for those of you at home that don't exactly know what a ghost gun is, it is a gun that is no serial numbers, hard to trace. And in his case, it came in the form of a build kit. So we're going to pull up the router here if we can, Jose. This is actually what we have online here for the lawsuit. This is one of the pages here. This is exactly what he bought. It was a Polymer 80 build kit. So basically what it is, again, folks, it is a gun that is sent to you in parts, or parts of a firearm that you assemble. So what essentially happens, what's listed out in the lawsuit, and again, I spoke with the lawyer, the attorney today, he ordered this kit online as an 18-year-old. Again, you're not allowed to have a firearm unless you're 21 years or under.
Or over.
Or over, yes, 21 or over. And so what ended up happening is he bought this gun. There were no proper background checks. And the other thing that's noted in the lawsuit is that Henry had suffered a mental health episode a few months before this all took place, and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and PTSD. So even if there was a background check that would have been done, he wouldn't have passed it. He should not have been able to possess this firearm. Again, we're going to show his photos again. So the purchase happened 6 days before Henry took his own life, which was actually 2 years ago this day, Jose.
And you spent some time today, Logan. It was sort of having that conversation. There's a lot of questions you might have, and sort of if you're the mother in this position, you reach out to legal references. I believe there's also support from a group called Everytown Law, and that's sort of the case they're making against. And the name of the company involved here is not just Husky Armory. There's a parent company involved here as well. What's the sense you got from the case that the plaintiffs in this case, so the mom, of course, and the lawyers, where do you get the sense of what they're really trying to show to a court should this lawsuit keep moving forward?
So the big thing is obviously that this was a wrongful death, and that the armory, Husky Armory, is responsible in some sort of way for Henry's death. So in the case that we see in the lawsuit, again, negligence, wrongful death, those are the things that are listed. But the attorney today telling me, and I'm just reading off my notes here, that this case is about accountability and prevention. Again, something that should be done for these firearms. Again, this was a case where, say you have if Henry had gone to a proper gun store, he would have not been able to get his hands on a firearm. But because this was an unauthorized dealer online that did not have to abide or was not abiding by ATF regulations, again, that's where this comes in. They want to make sure that this case stands out and can kind of put some light on the situation of, hey, these outlets exist for folks to obtain, again, just like you are seeing
I
right
wanted to
there.
point out there's
Yeah.
some video we had found in our system as well. It seems, and this was from something we had discussed in a previous report with police and with agents, and you see the brand name there. So a Polymer 80 seems like among these brands, it's something that's out there in the market.
Yeah, and again, like I said, there's not enough checks for something like this not to happen. So again, a background check. Again, he wasn't even old enough to make this purchase if the proper checks are in place, if the proper regulations are followed. Obviously, Husky Armory and Up North Media, the parent company, I believe if I go through the lawsuit and if I go find it in my notes, again, they were not following those regulations, therefore leading to a situation where Henry, who again was going through a tough time with mental health in his life, was able to get his hands on a firearm and made a permanent decision that has, again, altered, his family's life and those around him forever.
And so as we, wait to see how this all plays out, Logan, because of course, we're at the stage where you file the lawsuit. The other party is going to have a chance to respond. You're going to see this kind of play out. I don't know what the discovery might be involved, but and maybe in the conversation you had with this attorney, is there expectation about how long or how short they think this is going to play out for them, for mom or for the family, for example? Is this about something, I guess, to prevent a similar awful situation in the case of what happened with Henry? But do you get a sense that they're in it for the long haul? Because this would be something, obviously, as you tune in tonight at Wave News at 11, Logan will have much more from the attorney about as they're processing all this. But what's the sense you're getting from their investment in wanting to really push forward with this lawsuit?
Well, as far as timeline goes, this was just filed this week, so we're still in the early stages here on that regard, folks. But as far as this goes long term, really what I heard from the attorney today is this is about making sure that there's no more senseless and unnecessary loss of life. They want to be holding these companies accountable for selling guns just like those. Again, can be ordered, pieced together in a kit. Literally, this was shipped to his home. This was shipped right to Henry. And again, he was able to get his hands on a firearm that he otherwise, in any other situation where regulations are being followed, should not have been able to get his hands on. So that was the thing that I think stuck out most to me from the attorney, Tad Thomas. He said, this is something that we want to not see again. We don't want to see these companies be able to hand over a kit, pieces of a firearms in general to, Henry was a child. He was just 18. But we also, they don't want to see this happen to anyone. And so it's holding these companies accountable that they're following the laws, they're putting in the proper safeguards, they have the regulations in place so that there is no, again, unnecessary loss of life. And
I'm sure this speaks to what the conversation about mental health, which has grown by leaps and bounds over the last couple of years, Logan, and to say, they're offering a really tragic perspective, but to say just where mental health plays a factor in all of this too, right?
Yes, so we actually were able to speak with the folks at 7 Counties Services here in the Louisville Metro. We actually went down to Bullitt County and talked with their unit manager there. And, one of the things that we talked about that you'll see at 11 is that this is just becoming, it's a different world, really, than what a lot of folks at home and, a lot of our viewers, you guys at home, it's a different world. There are these places like the internet where you can get a gun that maybe, say, 20 years ago, you weren't able to just order a gun online, have it shipped to you within days. Because, again, he only had 6 days from the purchase of the firearm to when Henry took his own life. That is something that, again, say 20 years ago would not happen. So there's all these new, I don't want to say necessarily new, but things that we know social media plays a role in it. The access to the internet, how it's just quite literally, I got 2 phones sitting here. It's right at our fingertips. So to be able to have access to so much knowledge, so much information, and so many things online, again, that plays a role in, youth mental health. And in this case, it ended up playing a role in Henry's ability to get his hands on a weapon.
So while you're here with us, Logan, I do want to just refer folks back to what you mentioned and the whole lawsuit, by the way, all, I believe, 40 something pages
42
of what was in.
pages.
So I want to bring that back up if we're going to
Yeah.
bring it up here, because a reminder, you can get all this information. We've got it pretty extensively here on the wave3.com article. So again, the headline you see, Louisville mother alleging her son was illegally sold the ghost gun kit, resulting in his death. And if I scroll down here, thanks to this tool we have through Scribd, you can actually go through each of those 42 pages. If I can just make my way to kind of line it up again, you can have this option to kind of go through the case that the mom and the attorneys are making against this company. So just worth considering all the different arguments and bits of evidence they're trying to make. And so, Logan, again, reminder for folks, we can expect to see you tonight at 11. And again, you're bringing that perspective not just from a heartbroken family, but also with a professional mental health care expert as to where that intersects with gun violence and the ability to help someone in situations like this.
Yes, and the other thing that I want to point out that will be in the report tonight. Again, I don't want to give you guys too much, but one of the things that we talked about today down in 7 counties in Bullitt County was just how prevalent this is becoming among youths. So anyone under the age of 17 or under the age of 18. And just one other thing that was noted was how prevalent when it comes to suicide and suicide attempts that weapons play a role in that issue.
So again, I just want to show you all a picture, and this is from courtesy of the family. Back then, 18-year-old Henry Willis, tragically taking his own life, and his mother now filing this lawsuit against the company Husky Armory and parent company, firearms dealer, making the argument that this was a ghost gun kit that should not have been sold to someone of Henry's age at that particular moment. So I want to appreciate our Logan Perrone's time. A reminder, Logan, the rest of the team, we say it all the time. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett, of course, Logan was going to stick around to hear that discussion about finally waiting to get to cooler temperatures. But hard work done here, and you can catch Logan's report at the very top of tonight's Wave News at 11. His report will also be there online, sent to your phones, so you can follow this as any new developments play out. So, Logan, we do appreciate your time popping into the studio as we're getting close to around 8:20 this evening. Right now, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but stick around. We're going to have much more of Wave Extra after this. Welcome back to Wave Extra 821. Now we're going to talk about the big subject du jour as just more Wave Country school districts already bringing some of those kids back for their first day of classes. Others still getting ready for that as we look ahead to next week. But if you've been driving around town already across Louisville and Jefferson County and, of course, our neighboring counties, you've probably noticed plenty more school buses back out on the roads. Drivers are practicing their routes for the new year. It is a time, too, to remind other drivers in your sedans, SUVs, and your vans, that it's about student safety, in particular when it comes to bus pickups and drop-offs. So Wave News reporter Fernando Garcia-Franceschini spent some time today hearing the real emphasis that those who keep kids safe want folks to keep in mind as we pull that up.
Right now it's pretty quiet at St. Matthew's Elementary, but next week it's gonna be hectic with tons of students, teachers, and school buses coming back for the start of the new school year. And because of that, officials want you to keep safety top of mind. Jeffrey Pinnick has been driving JCPS students to school for the past 5 years.
If you like kids, this is the perfect job for you.
It's the perfect job, but it comes with a big responsibility, keeping kids safe from reckless drivers.
If a car flies by your stop sign or on that side of the door, kids are getting off, and they can just, unfortunately, injure a kid seriously.
Pennick says on any given morning, 5 or 6 cars will ignore his bus's stop sign. Those drivers can be prosecuted if the cameras on the bus capture their license plate number.
I have children, and I don't know what I would do if one of them didn't come home from school.
Pinnick wants drivers to watch out for everything while driving in school zones. It's the message James Wilkins, who's worked for 7 years as a traffic guard, wants to share as well. To pay attention and slow down if they're behind the wheel.
I see it all. I see women doing makeup. I see people eating. I see people reading books.
Wilkins says he helps direct traffic at 6 different schools within the district each day. And while he's hopeful people will be more careful this year, he's asking everyone to pack some patience.
First week of school is going to be hectic for everybody, so control your anger because everybody is suffering together.
LMPD says it's looking to recruit more people to work as crossing guards. So if you're interested in helping out, you can find more information on how to do so with this story on wave3.com. Reporting from outside St. Matthew's Elementary School, Fernando Garcia-Franceschini, Wave News.
Always important to keep safety top of mind, and that was the case for the drivers working in New Albany, Floyd County schools today with kids coming back to the classroom. I want to show you some of that exciting video we got from the crew, the Wave Sunrise crew. Now, for some grade levels, things are going to look different this year. Middle schoolers coming into their first class of the day, they can work with a teacher on specific subjects where they might be struggling. For high schoolers, the incoming freshman class is going to be the first to follow new diploma guidelines. Bus drivers were getting their routes earlier this week, but since then they have been getting an influx of requests and messages, just wanting parents to know what to do. And in other cases with some of our younger kids, we also got to hear their thoughts.
Is this school super duper big? Are you scared?
No.
Are you excited to learn?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just great to see that expression, young energy, and just very much looking forward to their first day of class to spend time with friends. Now, for any parents with questions for NAFCS about busing, the website, again, you can go to and communicate and contact the district team, nafcs.org. District leaders say, by the way, this year they're having 115 bus routes, so something to keep in mind. All right, moving on to more headlines and story updates for you today. Kentucky Attorney General Russell Coleman says his office has reached an agreement with LG&E, and this has to do with LG&E and Kentucky Utilities to lower prices. Now, at least under the terms of the settlement that the AG's office shared, the two energy companies are going to build 2 new natural gas combined cycle units. They're going to be at Mill Creek and Brown Station. The companies are also extending the lifespan of 2 coal plants. They've also agreed not to pursue a planned battery storage facility. And included in the agreement is the fact, or at least their word, the utilities, that they will use money from data centers to help offset families' bills. We have more updates, headlines, stories on the way for you tonight. We're going to take another break on Wave Extra. Welcome back to Wave Extra. I've got more headlines, updates for you as we're rounding out our Wednesday evening, including this story of a Louisville woman who police say sent her former mother-in-law a birthday bag full of crushed peppers, who the ex-mother-in-law is allergic to. And now the woman is charged with first-degree wanton endangerment as well as stalking. And so I want to share that graphic with you, including the mugshot. 34-year-old Tiffany Gregory arrested Tuesday. Police say she was previously married to the victim's son. Court documents we were able to look at also allege July 7th, Gregory asked two kids to stomp on bell peppers and put those bits into a birthday gift bag and asked the children to put it on the victim's front porch. Now, the arrest report goes on to claim those kids refused to do so, but that later a friend put that bag on the victim's car. Police go on to write in their documents that the bag also had a birthday card with the phrase, quote, "You ruined my life. Enjoy your allergic reaction," with an expletive added there. The arrest report also mentions back in June that the victim said Gregory rubbed what they described as a pink substance on her car, which led to the victim then needing to go to the hospital for an allergic reaction. So again, Gregory now charged with wanton endangerment, unlawful transaction with a minor, and stalking. She pleaded not guilty in court this morning. Her bond was set at $25,000. And we're moving on to another story and an update for you here. We learned a woman who was arrested on DUI charges tied to a Shelbyville Road crash has had her case waived to the grand jury. So this is what we've learned about that grand jury update. Sherry Martin is accused of hitting a man who'd already been hit by a car while he was crossing Shelbyville Road near Moser Road over the weekend. Police in this filing writing that Martin was the second driver to hit the man. A witness tried to warn Martin by honking her horn, but police say she apparently ran over the man anyway. Officers say they also smelled alcohol on her breath and that Martin's passenger admitted they had both been drinking. Martin is charged with DUI as well as wanton endangerment. More stories for you tonight. This is now looking deeper into a cold case. In July of 2018, grandmother Rhonda Day disappeared after she went to visit a friend in PRP. LMPD searches in the time since have turned up cold with no clues or real leads. And to that end, 7 years later, we found out her family has not lost hope. Wave News reporter David Mattingly finds that they're asking anyone to come forward and give police the break that they have been looking for.
And to worry when she didn't come. Investigations. She was last seen visiting a friend in PRP. And now, 7 years later, the search continues for a missing Lebanon Junction woman. Investigations, searches, and missing posters have done nothing but produce 7 years worth of questions. Rhonda Day of grandmother was last seen July 28, 2018. She went to visit a friend in PRP. Her family began to worry when she didn't come home that night. Her car was found 6 days later, about a mile from her friend's house on Cane Run Road. And now, on the anniversary of her disappearance, her family renews a familiar appeal for help.
After 7 years, there's no new clues coming in, there's nothing. But I don't think anybody just disappears. I think there's somebody out there that knows something, and somebody needs to be brave enough or have a heart enough to want to help a family find their loved one or to get closure.
In the past 7 years, Rhonda Day's aunt says there has been reported sightings of Rhonda. The tips went nowhere. One person called claiming to be holding her for ransom, but it turned out to be a cruel hoax. And still, the family tries again on the anniversary of her disappearance to ask for the public's help. The case is in the hands of LMPD, where one phone call with the right information could bring this case to a close. In Lebanon Junction, David Mattingly, Wave News.
We do have more updates on today's Wave Extra coming up just next. This is about a new attempt to try to find a new life for the NIA Center out in the west part of town. After a failed attempt for one group to take that over and build affordable housing, a new coalition says they have plans to keep the NIA Center in the community's hands. And another update, this has to do with obviously a story you with us on Wave Extra have been following quite closely. This is hinging off of the conviction in the Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson murder trials relating to Crystal Rogers' disappearance. So we have an update for you on an appeal for child custody. So that's something we're going to touch on. Stick around after the break here on Wave Extra. All right, welcome back to Wave Extra at 8:34. So as a reminder for a story, and there's so many we're out covering as a team, stories all over town and Wave Country. 2 months after Goodwill had tried to buy the NIA Center from TARC, that stalled, but a new buyer says they're ready to bring in their own counter offer. It's members of the West Louisville Dream Team, as they're calling themselves. They've given TARC a letter of their intent to buy the NIA Center for the same price as Goodwill, and that has not changed. It's at around $2.1 million. But Wave News reporter Mark Stevens says this Dream Team wants the building to stay in the hands of the community.
It takes purpose to do things.
I know 2.1 million sounds like a lot, but it's not. We can get this done.
Purpose, faith, and money. Sean Spencer founded the West Louisville Dream Team. She has faith the money to buy the NIA Center will come.
The investors that we've been talking with, we've approached them all with $1 million investments, and those, I think they're pretty close.
The team wants to save the building, refurbish it, and reinvest in the community. It plans to bring in new tenants to fill long vacant space, and after Goodwill failed to secure tax dollars from the West End TIF, the West Louisville Dream Team may find success.
I will support that.
Councilmember Tammy Hawkins sits on the West End Opportunity Partnership Board. She supports the group applying for money.
There have been so many other projects that has also came in front of the WEOP, but none that really speaks community like this one.
TARC says its board will review the proposal on August 26th. Meanwhile, tenants and community members are rallying to keep the faith.
We need to put all our efforts together to make sure that we do everything we can to obtain this building.
Faith they can meet TARC's price.
That was our Mark Stevens reporting there, and he learned the Dream Team says it also plans to raise $1 million extra to then pay for the deferred maintenance that's needed at the NIA Center. It would bring the grand total to $3 million-ish or plus that they would need to raise to then feel like they can take over ownership of that building, which, as we've learned, plays a vital role as a meeting place and for the entrepreneurs and small businesses that are still renting that space inside of there. Moving on to another breaking update we got earlier into the newsroom this afternoon. And again, this is all tied to a lot of parties, people directly affected, involved in the disappearance of Crystal Rogers in Bardstown all those years ago. So new tonight, Brooks Houck's sister. So if you remember Brooks Houck, the then boyfriend of Crystal Rogers, who together they shared a son. Well, Brooks Houck's sister is petitioning a court for full custody of Houck's and Rogers' son. And so I want to play you a little video. This is what we were able to get from the trial while our crews were down there in Bowling Green. That was the venue for the trial for Brooks Houck as it was happening. That is Rhonda McElvoy, and she filed the paperwork earlier this month. According to court documents, she's had temporary custody of the 12-year-old child and now wants to make that a permanent thing. Brooks Houck is currently in jail after he was convicted earlier this month of killing Rogers, or at least for the specific murder charge that the jury had before them. The documents for the custody case mention that the fact the child's mother is dead, and the jury recommended the maximum life sentence for Houck. Formal sentencing for him is still the date we had told you before. That was on August 21st. All right, as we're moving through the evening, we're going to have one more break tonight on Wave Extra. Going to walk you through some stories, and this has to do with extending other parts of Wave Country. An update from the Cardinals football team, seeing how U of L's coaches are preparing the players for this next upcoming season in ACC play, and getting here a little bit of a preview with the newly re-signed coach at Racing Louisville. Top-level soccer here for the fans who enjoy that. So we're going to take another break. We'll be right back after this brief pause on Wave Extra. All right, everyone, here we are, 8:40 on tonight's Wave Extra. I wanted to show you some images from Bullitt County's, new animal shelter where stray animals will receive care before they are adopted. So these are the images we were able to get a little bit earlier today. The facility on South Preston Highway cut the ceremonial ribbon today. The two-story space, by the way, has kennels, an isolation room for sick or hurt animals who are brought in, and a space where animal control officers can drive right inside without having to deal with any inclement weather.
Our existing animal control was out of date, 20 plus years old, 2,000 square feet, literally in a remote part of our community. We're out here on the front door of one of our most heavily traveled highways where the entire community can see it.
So the shelter staff are going to begin moving animals into the new facility tomorrow. The new animal shelter also has a partnership with Hardin County. They are going to be the ones providing a full-time veterinarian so they can offer those care services to pets in the area. So that's our first look inside the brand new Bullitt County Animal Control Shelter. All right, here is our taste of a little preview of fall football. So earlier, if you've been following us through the afternoon, talking with Kevin and Ryan about how we're about to talk low 60s, high 50s for mornings to start this weekend. So very much feeling like fall is here briefly, but we know summer still has to move through August, one of the hotter months in our calendar year. All this to say that hasn't stopped the Louisville football team from practicing, getting their knowledge of the playbook and getting that chemistry together. So fall camp finally here, not just in Louisville, but across the country. And so at camp opening this morning, Wave sports reporter Dusty Baker has more from the Howard Schnellenberger complex.
As U of L football heads into fall camp, the word expectations has certainly been thrown out left and right, and rightfully so, as head coach Jeff Brom heads into year 3 as the head coach of the program. And he's done a lot in his short period of time here at U of L, of course leading the Cards to the ACC championship game 2 years ago, and expectations continuing to rise for him and for the program. Brom speaking about how his team is progressing heading into fall camp ahead of kickoff in 2025.
We like our players, we like the makeup of our players. I thought they've had a good summer, and now we've got to put in the work this fall to continue to improve and get better.
Among the many topics Brom discussed during media days, one of the popular topics was the development of his quarterback, Miller Moss.
I think he's done a good job, and then of course as we ramp this thing up and get in a lot of 11-on-11 situations full speed, that's when he's got to show the improvement.
Me and him gonna do good, like the team gonna do good. I feel like we see eye to eye with things like just being in the right spot.
He's been a leader. Me and him are on the same page for protection and run plays, so he's just done a great job, but he's going to be a great quarterback for us this year.
As the Cards prepare for a season full of high expectations, they have exactly 1 month before kickoff at L&N Stadium, where they will pack the house against Eastern Kentucky on August 30th. Reporting in Louisville, Dusty Baker, Wave Sports.
All right, I want to appreciate Dusty's update right there. And we're going to end with another update, just as something we learned about for racing fans, top-notch soccer in the NWSL. So the club is extending their contract with head coach Bev Yanez through the 2026 season. And there's reason to reward Coach for some of the work that the team's been able to achieve. This is Yanez's second season after she was named head coach in 2023. This year, Yanez has led racing to its best season standings yet. They're currently in 7th place in the NWSL. Last year, the team also had its highest scoring season yet as a franchise, 33 netted goals. Right now, they're actually on pace to surpass the mark. So racing now just trying to finish the regular season. The goal is to get a spot in the playoffs. And that's something the team has never done since the club actually started in 2021.
I'm so honored to be at a club that respects and honors my authenticity as a leader. And on top of that, the staff that I have a pleasure of working with every day is just such a great fit. They're such good people.
So Sunrise meteorologist and racing superfan Tawana Andrew actually sat down with Yanez to talk about not just the extension, but this year's team, and talking about some recent personal struggles that she's had to overcome. Make sure to look for that story tomorrow on Wave News, and you can catch Racing Louisville back in action on Friday as they play the Kansas City Current at Lynn Family Stadium. And as we bring you here, you can get all those updates, the top stories. It all, doesn't matter where you might be. You can click on the news tab, go to Kentucky, Indiana, regional, national stories, all right there at the click of a button on the wave3.com homepage, and everything is updated there. Thanks to our team. Many of the stories we were just discussing on tonight's edition of the stream. And as those updates come in, we'll be sure to let you know. Send those alerts to your smartphones, your devices. And as you're connecting with us, of course, you can always catch Wave Now on the app on your smart TV and connecting with us on the different social media streams as well. That is going to do it for us tonight on Wave Extra. Hope you join us as we resume and look over more of our top stories and big headlines and investigations in our neck of the woods. So hope to see you then. Until then, take care. Have a good night.